Oh, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week we are not on the dime bag. I know we've been reading your guys' comments and we have been flooding you guys with our C10 build, but that doesn't mean other stuff hasn't been getting done. This week we are on the Continental. We're listening to you guys. We've been doing a bunch of stuff on it. This week we have a whole bunch of fab work getting done. We're finishing up our custom bumpers. We're also going to be jumping onto the grill of this thing. We're going to be using OPS headlights, which means we have a whole bunch of cutting and fabrication to do to get those things in, as well as a LED light and a custom grill insert. So this is going to be an episode for you guys if you're here for the Continental. So let's go.
All right, so now that we got our two pieces retacked in, they're looking nice and even, nice straight line across. Next step is cut out this whole license plate that's integrated in the bumper. That way, when we do our exhaust that comes through the body, we're not gonna be impeded by that. And then after that's out of the way, we're gonna make a piece that connects. Now that all the fab work and welding is done on the bumpers, I'm gonna pass them off to Steve so he could start doing some body work and primer. While Steve was out doing the body work and ready for paint, delivery came in. We got a wheel reveal for the Lincoln. So these came, we got them through St. Paul Speed. Hooked this up with these wheels. Yeah. There we go. These look pretty awesome. You can see these are for the rear and these are for the front. 8.5 wide on the front side and 10-inch wide on the rear. And oh wow, look at this. We got custom icon logos. They swivel So when they're on here, no matter where you're going, they'll stay, yep. So you could read the logo in any wheel direction. So that's pretty cool too. We're gonna go ahead, get these gunnies off of one side and test fit these wheels. We wanna test them before we put some tires on there. So let's go ahead and get the orange guys off and these ones on. We got our rear wheel mocked up, and then we have our little stand here that's holding up our rear end, and we lowered the lift onto it, so we are pretty much pushing the whole suspension up into the slam position. We're at the point now where if the drive shaft was connected, it would be close to this lowest point. So this is pretty much the most slam position for right now that we're going to achieve. And as you can see, I know there's no tire. The tire wall is not going to be that thick. It's probably going to be this far off. It is going to be sitting pretty low, but the wheel fits great. There's a gap here and here, plenty of clearance up top. So that all looks good. The wheel's nice and centered. Now that we got that, we're gonna raise it off of our stand, bring our stand up to the front, put it under our control arm, and then get this wheel up into slam position and see where it goes. Right now, you can see it sticks out way further than our front rim. Okay, we got our front wheel on too. We put it down on blocks, it's a little bit safer. Do the front this way. And this is about ride height, roughly, with the setup that we have now. When we go to lower it, probably isn't as low as we want, but it's also a little hard to tell. We'll really have to get tires on these, but as far as our lip goes, we do, if the tire comes off here, we might start to have some interference. I think we're deleting this trim anyway. We might roll it in. That would probably help, but we'll have to put some tires on to actually see what's gonna be going on. But as far as the fitment with brakes and everything is looking really good. So for now, that's a wrap on the wheels till we get some tires for it. So we got our grill back on after we cut out our circular headlight bezels that were built in. Those bezels actually contain the mounts that went to, I think it was these couple points here. We no longer have that, so we're gonna have to build in new mounts. Plan to do like five mounting points right now. Once we have everything hard mounted, our goal here is having this line nice and flush between our new bumper and our grill. Then we can start holding up our lights, seeing exactly what kind of clearances we have, how far here we have to cut flat to match our new square headlights so they sit in. Bracket that we cut on the plasma, Steve welded it up, and then we got this other bracket that we welded onto the top of the grill. One thing that was a little tricky about these aluminum brackets is that this grill is actually not really pure aluminum. It's some sort of composite pot metal. Pretty difficult to weld, but at least it's on there for now. This one's nice and sturdy because it bolts in on either side. Next up, we're gonna go to the center and catch the two tabs that are hiding. There we go. He's back there. Okay, so we cut and fit all of our bracketry to hold this grill into place. And then, once again, the customer showed up and said they want something different. So they wanted a bunch of things to happen in this grill that I think it would be easier just to remake the whole thing rather than try and graft things into this. One of the big things I think I talked about before is that this grill is actually not pure aluminum. It's some sort of composite metal, pop metal. And so welding to it is nearly impossible. So that being said, we're just gonna start to remake the entire thing. We're gonna start with a frame, make it 2 parts. So we're gonna still keep this crest here. We're gonna take some 3/16 material, put on the plasma, take measurements from here all the way to the crown here. Same from this crown back. And once we have the frame, we could set it in here, adapt our bracketry that we had already made for it. So we make 2 frames connected together in the center, and then we could be able to build from there. Nice part is that instead of trying to cut these and save them and integrate them, which is pretty difficult, having a frame from scratch will be easier to get the headlight assembly, because we're gonna be just making a sheet metal plate essentially that goes and recesses into our frame, and that could have the cutout for our light. And then we could also make provisions for the LED strip light that we want to run all the way across as well. So let's get started on this frame. I cut my 4 pieces for the frame, then I lightly bent them, you know, just over my leg to kind of get the slight contour of the upper. The bottom is pretty flat. This is gonna sit back like that. I think all of my edges are in a spot where I could tack them all together with a MIG in this position. We got our basic frame tacked in here on the front. That's looking pretty good. Next up, we're gonna try and tackle these headlights. So what we wanna do is a little experiment. We temporarily wired up these brights in the regular headlights, and Steve's gonna hold it up there. What we're gonna do now is lower the car down to ride height. We're gonna turn off the lights and see where they go. We're gonna have to make like a plate that goes around the back side of them to catch a couple mounting spots, and then our grill is going to be pushed onto here, and our grill will cover this seam right here. But since we're doing that, even if we had the adjusters, it wouldn't have any room to wiggle back and forth because it would hit the front pieces of the grill. So we got our frame officially welded together, and now we're starting to plan out some of our lighting. First step is some LED channel. So this will have another side to it. It'll essentially be like a C, and then LED strip light will be mounted inside of there. We got a long piece here that we haven't bent yet, but an LED strip light will follow into this channel all the way across back down. And then when we have our grill piece that sets onto the frame, we're gonna have the mounting tabs in this gap between here, and then we'll have a slit cut into the grill so that the light will be able to come out. So we're gonna go ahead and bend this piece up. Once we bend that, we can cut a 3rd piece to weld it to make a C channel. Once that's done, we'll be able to measure exactly where this stops so we can continue our piece running out to the other edge, and then finally finish it off and measure and cut 2 pieces here for our side. welded up our first channel right here, and we have it just tacked on for now. I went ahead and drew up a little box that I bent on the brake here, and this fits over our existing channel, runs down the side, and then catches the bottom flush right there. This side panel is going to get welded on. That's the bend we can do all at one piece on the brake that we have. The fitment is looking really good here. Weld this piece on off the bench. Next we got our piece over here for our next channel. That is going to sit something like this that goes all the way across. And then this is our L. This will make it into a U or a C, whatever you want to call it, to make our channel. Once we get that welded and tacked in, then we could measure for our final piece. Let's go ahead and get this welded up. We'll get it placed in here and tack. Alright, so we got our LED channel all installed around here. So the next step is getting our cool headlight to mount in. We made up a mock grill piece. And then if we put it in here, take our light, fit it exactly how it's going to peek through that grill. So now what we could do is we can actually tape the light in from the front side so that we could design some bracketry to actually hold the light in to the grill. Okay, we threw the grill back on, put the battery back on, just to have a visual. What we decided, upon the advice of a certain guy named Andrew, we're gonna move this over closer to our LED strip, which we mocked up with this pen. So I think the gap between here and here doesn't need to be as wide. I think it'll look cooler with a little more wide stance, having the lights further out from each other. They still point, you know, kind of at a little bit of an angle, so the wider they are, the more light coverage you're gonna get in the center. So we're gonna go back, redesign our mock grill, and then use the same exact method to hold this back in, because we don't want to design our brackets until we know exactly where the light's going to be. Okay, so we got our headlight suspended where it needs to be, and we are going on to the other side. So this is the crucial part where the placement of our headlight is exactly equal on either side, left to right and up and down. What I'm going to do now is take my ruler, take some measurements from all the sides here and translate those over so that we could get the headlight in the same exact position for the mock-up. Then we could flip this grill around, do the same thing, design bracketry to catch on the backside, tack and weld it in. So let's get some measurements first and then translate them over to the driver's side. Okay, we got our second headlight on our bezel mounts back here. And I got the grill positioned back in on top of the bumper, below the hood, approximately where it's going to be. It has some room to slide side to side, so make these two gaps even to each other. I had to take off a little bit of material right over here, just so our bracket set back, but it is looking pretty good. The lights look nice and even. Next step is that we're gonna have to make provisions to mount this grill to the body of the car. Previously, I made this bracket to adapt our modified stock grille. And I think that I could probably, doing a couple new holes in here, I could probably make that work for this version of the grille as well. And then getting a couple more, they have these 2 threaded tabs on the side. Can make a nice bracket that comes L down off that and hit the back of our grille frame right here and be able to weld it in place. That way when you push the grille in, you just do 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts and then 2 more in the middle. That should be plenty to hold this thing in place. Got our brackets bolted in on either side, here and here, and then we got our tabs coming out, reaching the back of our grille. So while this is in the fixed position where it needs to be, I'm going to grab the MIG welder, close this gap up like that, and set some tacks in here on both the lower and the upper tabs. That way, when we go and final weld everything, when we go to set it back in, it's going to be the exact position that we need everything to be held at. So we got our headlights and our frame and all of our mounting points all done. Now it's time to do some design. So we had our original idea to do like a water jet cut stainless plate that would have some design embedded to it. But we've had a little design change and now we're going with diamonds. So this kind of looks like what we were taking was the center of this Lincoln logo, that sort of shape. And then using that to create sort of like a old style Merc grill that had vertical pieces coming through. So we're gonna go ahead and start forming these. I made a bunch of cardboard templates just so we could get a mock-up of how many and what size would look good. And we'll probably end up doing behind them like a black mesh grill in order to attach them because we want them sort of like a floating look. They'll be exactly behind these so you won't be able to really see the attachment piece. So let's go ahead and get these flattened so we can make a 2D design to cut out. I got 2 of these pieces finished and it's a little bit trickier than I thought it would be. I had to make a little bit of modifications for my drawings to get these back edges to line up correctly. I also had to make them a little bit longer because once you start bending, as your length comes up here, it shrinks this way and I wanted my overall length to be a little longer. So this is my test piece and then I saw that it wasn't going to be the right size, but now that I have one that I really like, I could use this as my template when I'm bending and hold this over by the brake so I could get this exact angle. I think they're turning out pretty good. Now that I have a good drawing, I'm gonna just cut all the rest of the pieces at once, clean them all at once, you know, go into a production mode instead of my R&D mode. So hopefully that'll make the rest of these go a lot quicker and we'll be able to get that grill together. Alright, we've got all of our little insert pieces already made. Before we go and figure out how we're going to attach them, we're going to do the backdrop of the grill insert. So that's going to be some perforated material. We're going to cut it starting from here, go around. Obviously we're going to do a cutout for the headlight, and then back around. We could attach it here and then maybe do a couple of little tabs at the bottom too to hold it in, and maybe we could do a little tacks on the LED channel up here. So yeah, let's get that all measured out, cut, and then we can lay it on and trace out where our headlight is going to go, and then cut that section out. And then we can figure out where the best spot for our mounting tabs are and do another one on this side. Alright, so we got our grill cut out here, and then I just loosely place these on here, kind of get a visual of what that is going to look like. Now we have the cutout, so our headlight is nice and tight but protrudes through our grill piece. Next thing I'm going to do is we just want to get sort of a visual of how this is going to look, send it to the customer. So instead of these being on the grill, our plan was to have them stood off, so this point was about level with the top and the bottom point level with the bottom. So that would bring it to roughly about here, probably about like an inch and a half away from the face of the grill. So one idea that we had was going to weld a tab across the back here that has a hole, catch this 1/4 inch hardware. We can actually pre-weld the 1/4 inch bolt to the plate and tack the plate onto here. Then we'll have a threaded piece sticking out that will actually fit through the grill holes. Then we'll take some aluminum sleeving, put that around, and you can imagine there'll be a plate right here. So when it tightens down, the aluminum sleeving will press up against the plate. We'll cut it to the length that we want the piece to be stood off, and then on the bottom side we could use a nut and washer to secure the whole assembly. So I gotta cut this plate to try this out, clean it up, tack it onto here, and then we'll be able to measure and cut our tube to the exact length that we want this to.
Well, Dave has our grill insert, well, at least half of it. It's all mocked up. This is not the finished product, guys. But, you know, Mark, the customer, wanted something very hot rod-ish, kind of like a old 40-ish Merc style. So we kind of took that idea. We made these diamonds to kind of go with the Continental logo. There's gonna be more to it. Again, we're not gonna be doing this big perforated back there. We're just kind of trying to give Mark a visual, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really sure it's the vibe, man. But I'd like to know what you all think, so drop your comment in the comment section below. But don't worry, man, that's not all we've been working on the Continental. We also have custom headers already done. We got custom headers and we're working on the exhaust. So that episode is gonna be coming out soon. We also have a bunch of Chevelle stuff coming out. So if you guys are here for the Chevelle or the Continental and not for the dime bag, you're lucky, because we're gonna be full steam on both of these builds. So Anyways, we got all this stuff coming out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Hit us on the comment section. Hit the like button. Get it all done. We'll see you guys soon. Toodaloo. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. We also showed you guys our brand new 2-piece wheels from our boy Joe at St. Paul Speed. Then we're gonna get some rubber on these things and get this thing on the ground and see exactly what it looks like. I think these things are sweet, man. So let me know what you think. We'll see you guys. Peace.